Hello, this is Juliet Gladies Jayasuria. Welcome to Evaluate to Motivate segment. In this segment, we will be talking to champion evaluators to learn from them the art of evaluation. Today, we are having with us Swetha Raghuraman, who is the youngest DTM of the town. She received the second place in Division G evaluation contest in 2022. Hi there, Swetha. Welcome.
Hi, Juliet. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting for this invitation for the interview on Evaluate to Motivate. So shall we begin?
Yes, please go ahead.
So the first question to you is, tell us about your journey as an evaluator. When and how did you discover that evaluation is your strength?
So to tell you about my journey as an evaluator, it was not very typical because, of course, I learned the art of evaluation mainly through observing my mother, who's been a Toastmaster for 10 years, and I've observed her do the evaluation. I have attended her meetings. I've seen other Toastmasters around her do the evaluation. And not only that, even when I started my journey in Toastmasters with Pathways, with the project evaluation and feedback, I had to unlearn a lot from what I have observed in the past. And not only that, the art of evaluation actually comes from the nature itself. Like if you see a thing, an object next to you, you evaluate it. If you buy a product, especially in electronics, you evaluate its specs, the strengths and weakness. So the evaluation has actually been part of us. It's not like you have to be trained to be good evaluator. You just need to just hit the mark. So it takes a lot of training and practice to do that. So I have not been formally trained. It's just I learned by seeing others, and like I molded myself to be a better evaluator, and I improved more my observation as well as my listening skills, because of which it enhanced me as an evaluator. If and that has helped me throughout my journey, because when I started with the evaluation project in Pathways, the speaker I was supposed to evaluate, I completely whitewashed their evaluation because I got too carried away by their speech. And that was the biggest learning I got as a person starting out as an evaluator, is not to get too involved, you need to create a wall between the emotional aspect as well as the contextual aspect of a speech and a speaker. And you should not be sympathetic, you should be very empathetic. So that whitewashing lesson made me a bit more objective in my approach as an evaluator. Yes.
Okay. That's well said, Swetha. Thank you so much for the first answer. I know it should be very important that we need to come natural as an evaluator. That's a very key point, what you said. So what are the strategies do you think to be adopted to an open an evaluation speech? While we open an evaluation speech, what strategies we could really give?
Well, strategy varies from one person to another, and also it depends on the type of speech that you have listened to. My strategy is very straightforward. I don't follow any sophisticated manner as such, but one of the most major things as an evaluator is, first thing, you need to make a speaker really comfortable, the person who's going to listen to your evaluation, and on their content the evaluation is going to be about. So you need to make them very comfortable, and this comfort can be achieved through the introduction. And you can grab a memorable quote from their speech, or maybe just say something which is around the background of the speech, which you can merge through your own experience. And that's how you introduce. And when you address and acknowledge the audience, applause, commend, and appreciate the speaker for delivering the speech. Because if you appreciate and you acknowledge them, that is your way of telling them, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to listen to your speech. Because of that, of course, you will be able to evaluate. But not only that, it is your way of acknowledging the efforts, the time that they have taken to prepare and to deliver for this speech. So yes. So when you acknowledge, you start with a positive note. continue that positive note when you are going to talk a bit about their speech. What was so great? What was so good? Just say a general, just give a small plot on what their speech was about, especially for those people who wouldn't have been paying too much attention. But this is also your test as an evaluator to see whether your attention span is there, whether you were thoroughly listening to the speaker's speech. And then you go on to say the positive point, and then you give your own personal suggestions for the areas of improvement. Of course, when we go to the areas of improvement, we tend to get very critical and very harsh, because remember, you are an evaluator, you are not a coach or a mentor to do that. So you need to set a boundary, and you need to be more civil when you're trying to evaluate, especially the points of improvement. We call it points of improvement because we are trying to invoke some positivity despite all the faults that we observed in their speech.
Yeah, that's well said, Swetha. So I think it'll be better we start off the introduction by making ourselves comfortable, making the person also comfortable while we start. I think that will now lead to the next question on how can we give a 360-degree evaluation. Are there any techniques that one can adopt to give well-rounded evaluation?
Techniques, again, I'm not too bookish. So I will say that to do a 360-degree evaluation, you as an evaluator have to listen to the speech thoroughly without getting distracted. Of course, it is a challenge. That's why as an evaluator, you need to have two types of skills as a listener. One is having an active listening skill, that is, you listen word by word, just deduce the meaning and the meaning of the speech. Then the second thing, which I feel is more important, is having a passive listening skill. What I mean by passive listening is, of course, not active, but it also means you listen to a part of content and you somehow were able to obtain a gist of the speech. You're able to identify the depth of what the speaker is trying to convey and the content. So that comes through experience, and that you obtain it once you've listened to countless speech around you, and that's an important skill. So as you are going ahead and writing your 360-degree evaluation, take notes of everything. Take notes, because note taking is something that is very essential for an evaluator, unless you're a genius. But all evaluators are, of course, they are intelligent in their own way. So take notes, even of anything that is relevant or irrelevant, but take notes as much as you can, and then try to note down any areas of improvement as much as possible. Areas of improvement, identifying them is a bit tricky, and it takes a while and a lot of practice to do that. But once you note them down, organize yourself and find out a way in which you can give your 360 evaluation a full circle, and that full circle comes through your speech as an evaluator.
That's wonderful. That's a very good way of taking it further. So now when you said we need to write down so many points and then take all the notes and then give it back to those people, how can we effectively manage time to organize the evaluation speech?
Yes. Well, personally, it's very different because I rarely write an evaluation speech. I just rely on my notes in a tabular format. So what I do is I take a blank piece of paper. I divide the page into half with a line. So I make a small table. I highlight the positive in one side and the areas of improvement in the other side. And then below that, whatever space that I have, that is where I note down the memorable quotes or whatever I have heard from a speaker's speech that has intrigued me, and that is something that will be useful for my evaluation. So I take notes of those. And then while I'm listening to the speaker's speech, I observe, I give sufficient amount of time to observe and sufficient amount to write my notes. So once I create that note, once I've made those notes, I will be having a preparation time after listening to the speech. So during that time, I flip that paper and you can write a script if you're a fast writer, but I write bullet points of what I will be covering in my evaluation. So that saves a lot of time, and it saves a lot of energy, because once you have the next 2.5 minutes, you need to keep it blank for going through your bullet points.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's a very good strategy to keep minimal and then expand it further.
Exactly.
So, having said that, is it important to conclude? What methods do you prescribe for conclusion?
What methods why I prescribe for conclusion is I give, as much as possible, I try to imbibe a message of hope for the speaker, that they will do that they will do an amazing job going forward, or all the best. I look forward to your future speeches. That is how I usually conclude. I usually, my conclusions are more spontaneous, and it is more into like, on the whole, I really enjoyed your speech on this topic. I really found these aspects memorable. Work on these aspects with my suggestions on enhancing it, and that will take you to the next level. Looking forward to most your speeches. This statement is more than enough for me to conclude the speech evaluation usually.
Very well
So
said.
that's how I do it. Yeah.
Yeah, very well said. So, hope moves mountains. And that's the best way to conclude. And I think that would be really motivating for the Toastmasters. And when a Toastmaster is now completing the journey, so how should a Toastmaster prepare for an evaluation contest? So they wanted to move to the next level, like how you said. So how
Mhm.
they can prepare for an evaluation contest?
Mm. Well, to be precise, evaluation contests, unlike the two speech contests, international and humorous, it does not come with a script. It is something that you
On the
develop with
spot.
spontaneity and with experience. And
Yes.
for evaluation contests, for any newbie evaluator, the first thing I will tell them is to, as much as possible, try to get acquainted to different techniques of evaluation. Like, the one I commonly use is the sandwich method, where I tell the positives, negatives, and the positive areas of improvement, and then I conclude it. Then there is even a specific type called the content and delivery, where you evaluate the content separately and the delivery separately. And there are many more techniques as such. So get acquainted with it. Of course, practicing it will be a bit tricky, because you can't simply look at some YouTube speeches and evaluate. You can, but to get the contest experience, especially in this online environment, try to participate in the dry run, and that will give you an experience. And try to get a mentor, someone who can train you with the evaluation, someone who has been part of that category and someone who's experienced. Take some cues and words of wisdom from them, and have a very calm, peaceful, and a very light mind before the contest, so you have nothing that can hold you from performing well.
Well said. That's awesome. So, as a champion evaluator, what is your advice to the new Toastmasters to prepare themselves for the evaluation contest?
Mm, okay, champion evaluator. It's okay. Thank you so much. You consider me as a champion. Well, my advice to budding Toastmaster would specifically be that, as much try to get into the heart of the speech, because if you get into the heart of the speech, then you are becoming a much more empathetic and a motivating evaluator as such. Because I have observed most of the evaluators who just evaluate technicalities. Of course, we enjoy technicalities, that helps us better as a speaker in speech development. But what sells the more in speeches is to connect with the audience. And to make sure that connect is effective as an evaluator, you need to have a depth as a listener to understand what the content is. And that can be a that can be achieved as you listen to more speeches, and as you are more honest with the feedback as you deliver as an audience. And then afterwards, you will be nice as an evaluator.
Thank you so much for your valuable time and knowledge that you have shared with us today, Swetha.
My
Hope this
pleasure.
will help all the budding evaluators in their Toastmasters journey. So this is Juliet signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.